Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats and get ready for a whirlwind of excitement. Because we have none other than the maestro of modern television, the unstoppable force of creativity with us today. Now picture this, a veritable titan in the entertainment industry, standing tall as the founding partner of Sinking Ship Entertainment, where his visionary leadership has transformed the landscape of television. With a career spanning decades, he's racked up an awe-inspiring collection of accolades, including not one, not two, but a jaw-dropping 4 Emmy Awards for executive producer and another 3 as a director. And let's not forget his mastery of the written word, boasting CSA and WGC awards for his brilliant writing and best-selling books that have captured the hearts of fans around the globe. But wait, there's more. Brace yourselves for a journey through the vast universe where he's conjured up over 17 series that have left audiences spellbound. From the prehistoric adventures of Dino Dana to the futuristic escapades of Anti-Droids. He's proven time and time again that he's the ultimate architect of entertainment magic. And just when you thought you'd seen it all, he throws a curveball with the COVID lockdown and creates groundbreaking series filmed entirely on webcams and cell phones. But it's not just his creative prowess that sets him apart, but also his unwavering commitment to diversity and inclusion that truly make him shine. Through groundbreaking initiatives at Sinking Ship, he's championed gender balance and diversity both on and off the screen, ensuring that everyone's voice is not just heard, but celebrated. From Emmy history maker to Hollywood Reporter's top 20 under 35, his accolades speak volume about his unparalleled talent and dedication to the craft. And let's not forget his philanthropic endeavors, having built 33 playgrounds with the series Giver and filmed in over 40 countries for National Geographic's Are We There Yet World Adventure. He's not only entertaining the masses, but making a positive impact on communities worldwide. With 67 writing credits, 27 director credits, 115 nomination, and 57 award wins. He isn't just making television, he's making a difference. So prepare to be dazzled, prepare to be amazed, prepare to witness the sheer brilliance of our next guest. So please give us a roaring welcome to JJ Johnson. JJ, thank you so much for your time and welcome.
Thank you for that intro. I hope I live up to that over this chat.
You know, JJ, I want to dive right into it with you. I have this whole list of questions, of course, and then I found something that I was like, oh, I really want to know about this.
Sure.
There's a rumor online about where the name Sinking Ship came from. I'm wondering if you can speak to us about that.
Yes, the story is usually better told over a drink, but I guess the coffee will have to do. And it doesn't necessarily reflect the best on us, but in our last year of university, one of the other founding partners of Sinking Ship, Blair Powers, and I were pitching a project. And throughout university, I mean, I must admit, I think I had a romanticized view of school. Like I thought you went there to kind of, shake things up and shut them down. And so I would say that like we weren't the most popular per se. And part of this experience is you had to pitch a project and then convince other students to join your group. And we got our project through, but we couldn't get people to want to work with us necessarily because we really were trying to push them as far out as we possibly could. And finally, we convinced someone to join our team. And her best friend said to her, don't join them. It'll be like joining a sinking ship. And as soon as we heard that, we were like, oh, well, there's the company name. And there's kind of the ethos, which has maintained all the way through. I know there was this point in our early days when we were, officially kind of starting out where the third partner in Sinking Ship, Matt Bishop, was like, should we consider changing the name? And we bandied a few names around, but I think it just speaks to the personality of the company. We constantly feel like we're, bailing water, and that we do want to keep kind of challenging ourselves to, not rest on our laurels in any way.
I love that. And, as I said, I was doing my research and getting these questions, and I saw that, and I was like, do I have time to put that in? And I'm like, yes, I do. It's number one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, when you were in school, what made you pursue a career in the entertainment industry? You're graduating high school there, and you said, hey, you know what? Going through this wonderful obstacle course and being battered and bruised every day is what I want to do. What was that driving force to pursue a career?
Sure. I mean, I'm realizing there's a common theme here, which is like not being popular. But so in high school, similarly, like I was president of the chess club. Like I had a tight group of friends, but there was school nominations coming out for to be school president. And someone had put my name in kind of as a joke, like there was no way that I would possibly win. And so when they announced them over the announcements, it was kind of like a laugh, like, you know, obviously he didn't put it in himself. And so I remember going in, like walking toward the office to pull my name. And one of the other students that had put her name in to run came up to me and was like, obviously you're not going to win. So if you want to join my campaign, we would love to have you. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh, I'm gonna run and I'm gonna win. And so, because it was just me and this like gaggle of two or three friends, we decided to make videos and posters and basically like run a media campaign to win. And we got this local celebrity because I grew up in Elmira, which is a very small town outside Kitchener-Waterloo, and Tino Monte, who was the host of Supermarket Sweep. Do you remember that show? It was like a game show where you raced around in cart. I like went up to his house to see if he would participate in this like SNL spoof. And to his credit, he said yes and came out. And we shot this thing and shot with some teachers and played it at the assembly. And it just went over so ridiculously well. Like it was, it had everything that it needed. It was humor, it was entertaining, and it wasn't like really about me, although I was in it. And I was lucky to like win that in like a landslide from someone that was not meant to win. And I think it was just like, it just showed me the power of what media can do, change minds. And I think I just got stuck with like, oh, if you can do that, like if there's causes and things that you believe in, can you use media to direct people's attentions or get them thinking about a subject a little bit differently? So I think I was hooked in that moment.
So if
That
you,
was a long answer. I'm sorry.
no, that's perfect. And if you didn't pursue a career in the entertainment industry, let's say you had to pursue literally something else, what do you think that would have been?
Well, my fallback was criminology at U of T because I figured if I wasn't going to go into media, at least I would like, spend my life chasing serial killers. I think that was like from Silence of the Lambs. I was just like, oh, that would be equally worthwhile. And I did get accepted, and thankfully, I think I also applied to York University, which I didn't get into. So there is definitely an alternate universe where I am out there, trying to hunt down people.
Solving crimes.
Yeah.
So, with your extensive experience, and I'm going to dive right into your work, you're an award-winning creator, you're an executive producer. What do you consider to be the key ingredients for a successful television series?
Oh, good question. I think honesty. I think really talking up. We primarily make kids and youth and family programming, and I think just never underestimating the sophistication and the smartness of the audience and how big their kind of emotional lives are. And so I think if you can be honest to them at the level they're at and not hold your punches creatively, I think you can create continually compelling things, and also like to address what they're dealing with in their lives. I worry sometimes in kids programming, it's either like toyetic shows that are trying to sell something, or it's about feelings at a level of like sharing and caring, when meanwhile kids are dealing with breakups of families and struggling with the environment. And like they're aware of all these things, but it's almost like we're afraid to address them, which I think is almost a greater danger, because then they're watching further up to kind of learn these answers, and that's sometimes, if not couched in the right way, can be dangerous. And so I think it's just like, what are kids feeling, what are they thinking about, and can you address that directly? And for us, I think one of our superpowers is that we get the privilege of working with kids every day. And so if you listen to them and actually talk to them, they'll be very honest with you about what they're thinking about their lives and the world, and really just, lean into that.
Now, as you talk about creating children's content and talking with a superpower of dealing with these children every day, it's not that you're just creating it, you're actually a chair member of the Youth Media Alliance in Canada. So, what initiatives are you most passionate about in supporting for the next generation of content creators?
I mean, I think on that level, I'm really proud that we've created a lot of scholarships and bursaries. I mean, I know how hard it was for us to, claw our way into this industry. And so anything that we can do to make it slightly easier for the next generation to at least get their foot in the door. And it doesn't mean that it's still not going to be, I mean, it's a ridiculous challenge. It's still a challenge for us. Like I naively thought that, after some success with awards and things, that the process would become a little bit lighter. And I think it's actually the inverse, where the expectation just becomes greater and greater, and that you should be able to do it for less because you've, mastered whatever. So I think for me, it's just keeping an eye on how do we try to make that entry level somewhat more accessible. And I'm proud that the YMA has done that. And we've obviously on Sinking Ship side tried to do that in various categories as best we could.
So when you talk about these scholars and these bursaries and helping out, how do you, as Sinking Ship, stay constantly evolving, and how do you stay ahead of all of the new trends that are popping up?
I think, again, a good question. I mean, for me, my development process always starts with like, what do I want to say? And because a lot of the content's for younger audience, it's like, what do I want to say to my younger self, or what would have been helpful to hear to, when I was the age that I'm thinking about. So it really starts with like, what is that? And then how do you wrap it up in as cool or entertaining an idea so that it's watchable? You know what I mean? Like you can do a show about the environment, but it still needs to be an action adventure and entertaining. And then how do you kind of weave that information through? So yeah, I think sorry, I've lost my, what was the main question? Did I answer that slightly?
No, you did, and it was perfect. But as you had mentioned, some of the advice or things that you kind of wish that you were taught going through this. What piece of advice or insight would you share with aspiring, writers and filmmakers, and someone who's trying to carve their own path like you did?
I think to know that nobody is going to advocate for your idea or you as much as you yourself. And so, I knew based on a lifetime of being me that I was not going to be hired by anyone, and that I had to like kind of create my own path. And it was hard, but I'm so appreciative that we did. Like we started shooting our own pilots just out of school, and then very lucky that our first pilot got picked up. But we knew that we had to prove it. Like nobody's just going to give you anything. And so I think it's partly being respectful of the person that you're approaching for potentially millions of dollars. How much effort would you expect to see someone put in if they were coming to you for a couple $1,000,000? And so for us, it was like, all we have are some school projects to point to, which are not in the kid arena. So obviously we need to shoot something. And when I think about like that first show was This Is Daniel Cook, which was the series that followed a little kid around as he, explored the world. And that was like, I luckily met this kid that was amazing, but you couldn't sell that show in a pitch. Like me saying, oh, imagine a great kid that says off the cuff remarks and is sometimes a little bit naughty, but it's great because he's endearing. Like until you see that. And so we sailed through that process because they could see it. We showed it. Right. And so I think it's like you got to put in that kind of level of work and not expect that anyone ever is going to be there to like advocate and push for you. You've got to figure out how to create those kind of good luck opportunities.
Now, when we talk about these good luck opportunities, and behind you, there's a few awards that are nicely published, of course. And we talk about following around Daniel Cook and even going back into the days of This Is Emily Young, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Your work has garnered critical acclaim with numerous awards. So how do these expectations of awards, and you talked about it a little bit, where we have all these awards and accolades, and it's supposed to be kind of going easier at this point because you've made these marks. So how do these experiences influence your future projects? Like knowing that you kind of have to live up to this last award or this last trophy or this last big thing.
Yeah. I think what's helped is that I really treat every show as if it's going to be my last. Like I have felt like I have been on borrowed time since our first series. Like when we finished that, and we didn't get paid a cent for it because we had to like put all our fees in. And so we shot for 8 weeks. And then I literally went back to like waitering the next day. And so I think it's like treating them as if they're going to be the last thing, and so you put every ounce of energy you have into it. And to know when to like stick to your guns on things that you feel are important to the show, while at the same time not being against network feedback or your colleagues' feedback. I think somewhere in there is why it has continued to work on that level. Like I'm not thinking about the awards. I don't tend to do shows unless I'm nervous, like I'm scared about executing them, because then I know that like if I'm nervous, then that's probably we're going to create something new. And then I think also, like challenge every level of production when you get into it. Like I'm a big fan of if we've done like a classical scoring on the previous show, to change it up on the next one, change some key creatives just to introduce some new personalities that are going to challenge you. And I hope that though, and obviously Sinking Ship produces, originals for me and also other people. I feel like there's some common thematic themes of what makes a Sinking Ship show, but I think they're all wildly different, and that hopefully when you see one of our shows, it's hard to be like, oh, that's this meets this. Like that ideally they've got kind of a tone and feel that separates them a little bit. So I mean that's the goal. I think awards are nice and they're certainly important in the beginning, but they do, at a certain point you have to kind of be like, no, I got to do this for myself and the audience and what we want to say. That if it didn't win awards, would that hurt? And you got to kind of have to get beyond that point.
Now, when you talk about your projects, and I love what you said, I'm going to treat everyone as my last project. I'm giving it my all. And I love the passion that you bring with these answers. So, in your opinion, what's the most rewarding aspect of creating a project and it being done, other than for that cathartic, oh, it's finally over? What's that love? What's that rewarding aspect for you?
Um, a good question. I think, as a kid that like lived in my imagination a lot, I there's something so weird about like you walk onto a set and it's something that started as like a scene you saw in your head or some words you wrote, and suddenly there are people populating those words, an entire team has come together to build this out. It's something so strange and awesome to see an idea actualized, and the thing that gets me about TV and production that I I don't think I could ever tire of is like there's no other industry like it that brings together this many personalities and like pushes them together. You've got like hair and makeup and actors and grips and electrics and set designers, and then you've got a camera team and a DP and lighting, like that crushes all these people together, and each day accomplishes something. You know what I mean? Like it there, even like I think I'm trying to think like, theater, you're not filming it. Architecture, yeah, you're building something, but you're not having actors have to move through it. Like I can't think of anything else that takes that many weird, interesting people and has to come up with something each day. And I think being a part of that with all the pressure and creativity and interpersonal stuff, it's just kind of remarkable. So I think I'm just constantly blown away by that. And it's a hard drug to pull yourself away from, because then if it works and you create something, it potentially goes out to hundreds of millions of people. You know what I mean? And if you're doing something that you think has value or is trying to say something for the betterment of people, like how do you stop doing that?
No,
I guess when people say stop doing it, we won't pay for it. It's probably how that'll end.
So when we talk about your experience and we talk about these, and I'm going to refer to them as these cathartic releases of being rewarding of the project, it's finally out of your head and on paper and now on screen. You're like, look, there it is. If you could collaborate with any filmmaker, writer, or actor that is living or dead, is there someone on your roster that says, man, these are my top three people that I would love to work with?
Oh my God. Yeah, I would say it's mostly, well, I mean, it's both. I mean, James Cameron like looms large, just as like an iconic personality that I don't know how he survived some of the production ordeals that he's gone through. And like now, having read some of it, like it takes that kind of Titanic personality to like push through those things despite seemingly everyone at certain times being like, this is going to be a failure or you're going to sink a studio or whatever it might be. And yet he continually does it, and I'm even thinking about like, Avatar 2, which is like, how do you live up to something that made the most money of all time? And then he does, you know what I mean? And he does it by challenging, I think, himself, because I was surprised at like how few movies he's actually made. Like it's not an exhaustive list,
Mhm.
but you can tell it's that he's customized them and really pushed things out. And I also respect him. I'm going to go on a little James Cameron tangent, but for him to also be able to, take Alien to Aliens or Terminator to Terminator 2, like to be able to plus a story and not just kind of write it in and that it's a sequel, so you're going to get a built-in audience, but really challenge everything about it is something that I think about often, mostly because this is like movies loom large in my childhood. But just to be like, every new season is an opportunity to challenge it to be greater than the last season. Like I want every one of our shows to be better than anything else we've made before. And I think you gotta bring that to it. It's not like you can, just sail through a second season. That second season should devastate the first season in terms of what it's done, because you should be better. The actors should be more comfortable. You should know the story structure, and then you should be like, okay, we got to keep prodding this thing to test its greatness. And so he's definitely one. I mean, Sigourney Weaver, I just love. I just think she's an amazing performer that I would love to work with one day. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Those are probably the two largest. I mean, obviously, like Spielberg is phenomenal and like watching up to everything that he's done. But yeah, that's probably in the range.
So, JJ, I want to ask you something a little closer to home for you. People often have perceived notions that people in the public eye or the entertainment industry, there's always something a little off about them, if you will. And I would say that there's things that people misunderstand about this industry and the people that are in it. Can you think of anything that someone might misunderstand about you from the role that you're in? And what would you say?
Yeah, I don't. I think one of the lucky things about like kids and family production is I think we are under the radar basically at all times. Um, I think if I get like one question often it's like, when are when are you going to go and finally do adult content or older stuff or older audiences? And it's like it's kind of a way of like devaluing everything that we've done up to this point. But it makes me think that it's asked often enough that I think that there is an underappreciation for how challenging it can be. And I would say, like, in some ways, more challenging to make kids productions than it is adult productions, because you've got less time, you've got less experienced casts who are often like, that's almost a plus because they approach it with a certain excitement that I don't know that you always get from more established actors. So I think it's that there's this sense that this would just be a stepping stone. Where honestly, for me, having worked in with more established actors and in some older shows, I'm just like, it's the ego and stuff that I couldn't imagine putting up with on a daily basis. And I get that there's like, that's kind of couching defensiveness or whatever else it might be, but I just really love that, like, on our sets there is no ego. Like there's no time to have ego. Sometimes, if the kids are under 12, you have 8 hours to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And that kids set a great tone on set, where, and it's something that I think like we lose a little bit as adults, but like kids want to maximize their fun at all times. And so they're looking for ways to liven and make something enjoyable. And I can see sometimes we've had some really like battle hardened crew members that end up on one of our shows for whatever reason, even as a daily, and I watch them start to like interact with a kid actor, and because the kid wants to see how they're doing the camera or setting up the lights or whatever it is, and you just see them start to melt, because you can't help but kind of feel that way when a younger person's like, oh, that's cool, what are you doing, how do you do that, you know what I mean? And there's that lack of pretense. I don't know if that really answers your question, but
Oh, 100%.
that's mostly what I get like kind of hit with, and it just gets annoying because I genuinely wouldn't do anything else.
No, I love that. And I think that's a fabulous answer in the sense of this is the common question that you get asked. You say, well, no, I'm happy where I am. I love where I am. And until you experience it in my shoes, you'll never get it. That's why I'm
Totally.
here.
Yeah, for sure.
And JJ, I have time for one last question for you on Coffee with Chris, and you've been absolutely amazing. I really appreciate your time. But what makes JJ Johnson smile?
My kids, certainly. Like I'm lucky to have a 6 and a 5 year old, which is that dream age when they're like just starting to learn how to like try to manipulate and lie. And it's just, perfectly adorable. I was thinking this morning, I was dropping off my kids at the bus, and my daughter's 6 said, I love you. And it just came out of nowhere, right? And I was like, oh my God, thanks, Ripley. And I look over and she's like, no, 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 I'm saying it to myself, because she was looking in the rear view mirror, right? And I was like, hey, I appreciate her confidence, but it was just like so perfectly delivered that I was just laughing. So they kind of constantly entertain me.
I love that self-affirmation in the mirror there. I think that is
It was great. It's what you want. It would just be also nice to be acknowledged occasionally. But yeah, sweet.
and now JJ, where can people learn more about you and Sinking Ship?
Sinkingship.ca is our website. And then, like, though that's like a corporate site, I think you can really learn about us by watching our shows. I think everything that we have to say and who we are embedded in all of those.
I love that. And as I said, that was the last question I had for you, JJ. I really appreciate your time and being here with us on Coffee with Chris. And everyone out there, remember to smile to inspire and have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.